The reality is wood is normally cut straight and it doesn't like to bend. So there are things you will need to do to trick it into bending the way you want. And these are not that way. Let's take a look at some more refined ways of bending reality. Can we? Now, I have successfully bent wood before when I made this mid-century modern chair and when I made the curved arch on my miter saw dust collector. So I'm not new to bending reality. In fact, I love to do it. I won't get into the design aspects of these curves right now, just the process I went through of bending the wood itself. I lined it with duct tape of all things so that the pieces, when glued together, won't stick to the mold. I've used cling wrap before. Yeah, you heard me. You could also use laminate. Any surface that will not adhere well to wood glue would work. Now that my mold is done, I can build a robust steam box, not like the one you saw at the beginning of this video. It all starts with building a solid frame. I chose 3/4 inch plywood because it's inherently resistant to warping and moisture due to its layered construction. It's less likely to twist or crack. I glued and screwed this simple box together to enhance its rigidity. I also wanted to seal the inside of it the best I could. Then I added a weeping hole in one end of the box. I used a plastic wall anchor cut off a little long to minimize soaking in the plywood. I measured and drilled a hole in the pipe to match and then used a nail punch to create a concave dimple in the hole so water would naturally flow out of the pipe and through the plastic insert. From there it was on to building a cap for the end of my box. I drilled a 4-inch slot in a rear plate and then covered it with foil tape. This, when applied with silicone sealer, will provide a great seal at the back of the steam pipe. I used two 2-foot sections of 4-inch aluminum pipe. Actually, it saved me a few bucks, but I don't think it was really worth it. You should always try to minimize the number of seams that could possibly fail over time. I ended up using 2 layers of metal tape to create the best possible seal I could. There's no second chances once I sealed this inside the box. I wanted to try a dry fit to make sure everything fit properly. It looks perfect. Next, I made a small divider for the front end of the pipe. This, in theory, should help ensure that steam surrounds the entire surface of each part. After dry fitting this, I decided it sat up a little bit too high in the pipe, so I cut it down on my bandsaw so it would sit lower and I could put bigger pieces in. In practice, this divider worked well, but hot steam can destroy just about anything, and these glued dowels didn't last as long as I had wished. The last hole I wanted to drill before final assembly was for the fitting for the steam box hose. With the pipe dry fitted in place, I drilled a 5/8 inch hole for the insert. Great fit. I've used this gaps and crack spray foam before, and it's like a marathon sprint because once you spray it, the foam starts to expand into whatever space it can. It works great, but it's messy and it's sticky. So I'm on a timer when getting this thing fully assembled. This will act as an insulation barrier between the heat inside the pipe and the outside box, which, by the way, will still get extremely hot. Once the pipe is in, I need to align that weeping hole, install the fitting for the steam box hose, and that back cap, which serves as an end cap for the pipe and the box. Then it's putting foam in the corners and getting that top plate in place before things start to expand a little bit too much. After this dried, I ended up having foam seeping out some of the cracks in the box, which was a good thing because it gave me a great seal. You may have noticed that I cut 3/4 inch plywood corners for this end of the box. I glued 2 of these before I installed the pipe and then 2 after I put the top cap on. This will help with insulation and provide a good seal with the door, which is my next step. I wanted a good seal, so I glued a 1/16 inch foam to the inside of the door and installed a pair of hinges on one side and overcam clasps on the other. I like that fit. With a divider for the wood slats on the front of the pipe, I wanted to put 2 resting rods further in the pipe so that the wood had something to sit on. I pulled out my 3/4 inch long drill bit and managed to drill 2 straight holes through the entire box and pipe. Installed a 1/4 inch dowel and sealed with Loctite all-purpose adhesive. Once dry, I could cut off the excess dowel, and I left just a little nub to stick out just to make sure I had a good adherence between that and the box. Now it's finally time to start steaming some wood. And there's a lot more to steaming than just, well, a good sealed box. The type of wood, the wood thickness, steam temperature, steam time, bending angles, and clamping time all come into play. For this project, I used walnut without any knots and grains running the length of the wood. Each piece is 1/16 to 1/8 inch thick and will be laminated together once I bend it. Now, to generate the steam, I used an Ehrlich steam generator, which I purchased from Amazon, specifically made for bending wood. It has a 1.3 gallon capacity, which gives me about 2 hours of steam time, and comes with everything you need to install. I'll leave a link in the description. After a few trial runs in the steamer, here's what's been working for me. I soak the bend areas on each piece, followed by 90 minutes of steaming. This creates enough pliability. Is that even a word? Well, yeah, in fact, pliability is a word. The quality of being easily bent. Yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I have found that bending half the thickness of the arm, about 1/2 inch, at a time works best. Once it has sat overnight and dried out, I can then apply glue and reclamp in the jig. This I leave for 24 hours before taking it out of the jig. Then I do the second half of the arm just like the first and glue it all together at once. If you're not following me, which I can completely understand, then here's a chart to help explain it. It's quite the process, and I'm sure some of this is unnecessary, but it works, and so I'm sticking with it. If I was going to build more than 2 chairs, I'd probably run a controlled experiment to see what's required and what is not, therefore streamlining the process to only those necessary steps. Taking the wood out of the mold requires almost as much caution as using a table saw. Steam is generated from water at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll burn your skin without even asking for permission. I wear safety glasses and welding gloves when I take wood out of the box. The final product out of the mold is 9 layers of premium walnut molded into a shape specifically designed for the chairs that I am building. But I'm not done here. I need to run these through a drum sander, fix any imperfections, mold the wings that will attach to these arms, attach those wings, cut to length, put the tenons in, and finally round off the bottom part of the arm to mate with the front legs. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Bending wood is fun for me. This will not be my last video on bending wood. Heck, now I have a steam box, so I can try all kinds of stuff. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would certainly appreciate it. You certainly may not want to miss the rest of this chair build. I can assure you it will be epic. Hopefully in a good way, but not a bad way. Who knows? This is Dave with Level Up Woodworking, and I'll see you next time.